Hey, how's it going? Today I am talking about how to train for springtime surprise after princess. So basically, how to go from princess to springtime surprise. This is Running to the Castle, a podcast for injury-prone Run Disney runners on a journey to running magical miles. Join me, Dr. Allie, as I share the secrets I've gathered as a runner, doctor of physical therapy, and coach. You'll learn the exact ways I get my clients to the castle strong without feeling broken or held together with KT tape as they cross the finish line. Okay, so with Run Disney, I love it so much, and I love it and also find fascinating that most runners do multiple races. And so they have so many races in the Run Disney season. You have perfect Run Disney season where you're doing all of them, or maybe your perfect is all of the half marathons or all of the longest distance runs, because it could be a 10 miler. Or a perfect could be all of the challenges. I just love it so much. I've been in the Run Disney world. I've known about it since probably 2014. My sister has been doing them. I can remember back in 2014 on my lunch break at Rhode Island Hospital Physical Therapy Clinic, on my lunch break talking to her about how her race went, and she was doing the Avengers Challenge. And so that was 2014, and she did those every year until they stopped doing it at Disneyland. So I've been in the world for a while. I didn't start running them myself until 2023. I did virtual springtime surprise, but I had gone to Princess Weekend with her a couple of years ago. I just wasn't in the space of me training for them myself. I was doing other half marathons at other points. Busy life. My husband and I both own businesses. So anyway, that's a tangent on Run Disney. But going from princess to springtime can be pretty challenging. Going from any race to another without really knowing what to do, like how much should I be training? How much should I be resting? Especially for injury prone or already injured Run Disney runners. And as you know, that's who I work with. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today, because I want to make sure that you're training, but not overtraining and getting injured, because 80% of running injuries are due to overtraining. So we don't want that. I want you to be able to have the time of your life at this next race. So for conversation's sake, I'm going to talk about doing Princess Fairytale Challenge, going to springtime surprise challenge, just so I can keep things consistent. But please know this can work at any distance that you're doing. So you could have done Princess 10K and doing springtime surprise 10K, could have done Princess half and going to springtime 10 miler. The actual distance doesn't matter, but I don't want to jumble up my words and pretend and start talking about doing a half marathon to a 10 miler and then partway through switch it. So we're doing challenges. Okay, so for this, I'm going to be looking at one of my clients' training plans that I made for her to go from Princess Fairytale Challenge to Springtime Surprise Challenge. Okay? And I know by the time this podcast comes out, it's already going to be a few weeks into training. So don't worry if you missed the first couple of weeks. Maybe you took the time off completely. That's fine. Don't worry about it, because I'll talk about how to manage that. So ideal situation is going to be that the first 2 weeks after Princess Fairytale Challenge, you do easy weeks. So I program in a couple of walks and a couple of short, easy, and long, short, easy. So what I mean is typically in my training plans, you have rest days, you have short runs, which are typically speed work. You have long runs, which are typically easy runs. You have cross training, and you have strength exercise. And then after any kind of workout, you stretch. So In the first week, immediately after Princess, so Princess Fairytale Challenge ends on Sunday. This starts the next day. So I usually have a rest day and then a walk day and then an easy cross training day. So the walk is going to be super short. The cross training is going to be super short. Typically cross training on a half marathon or short challenge. So short challenge being a 2-course challenge or the Springtime Surprise Challenge, as opposed to Goofy or Dopey, which include marathons. Cross training is typically 30 minutes. So this cross training immediately after the race is going to be half of that, 15 minutes. And then a long run of 2 miles, and it will be easy. An easy run for my clients, myself and my clients, is 30% slower than race pace. If you don't know what your race pace is, you need to figure out what your race pace is. And you can do that by estimating how long you think it will take you to run the race. So, and if you're doing a challenge, I recommend doing the longest race. So, Springtime Surprise, 10 miler. How long do you think it will take you to run that race? Divide that by how many miles. That's your estimated race pace. And then your long runs are 30% slower. Long runs have a goal of getting the miles in, even if that means you're walking, even if that means that you're walking more, because the majority of my clients do intervals. So they are doing a run walk interval. You may even need to walk more. Okay. Skip strength this week. Just give your muscles the time to rest and relax. Racing really does a number on your muscles. And for a muscle to repair itself, it takes 8 to 12 weeks. That's just baseline what it takes. So even if you feel better after 2 weeks, your muscles are still recovering from a race. Okay, so you're skipping strength. Now we're into the next week. We have 2 rest days in this week again, and now we're back to short runs. So this particular client, we've been working together since last year, May, like Memorial Day timeframe. And so I know what her body can take. She knows what her body can take. And she knows her body really well. So in the beginning, when I didn't, because obviously she was brand new to me, I relied on her telling me like how she was feeling. And then I used that information to determine out what her training schedule should look like. So that's one of the benefits of working together is I change up the training week depending on each person individually. Okay, so 2 short runs, 30 minutes each. And these are just point blank short runs. There's no speed work associated with it. We're still in recovery mode. Cross training for her in particular, she felt fine on this week. So we were back up to her ideal 45 minutes of cross training. She was training for Dopey before. I know she can handle it. But for you, if 45 minutes is too long, just do 30 minutes of cross training. And then her long run was 4.5 miles. Easy peasy pace. 30% slower than race pace. She did 2 strength workouts. She prefers to do those after her short runs and then stretch after every single workout. Okay, now we're into the next week. Again, 2 rest days, 2 short run days, 30 minutes. If you're worried about time for Springtime Surprise, these short runs can be speed work. So that could be a 30-20-10. It could be progression. It could be hills. It could be tempo. It could be handling race pace. Okay, and remember, I should have said this at the beginning, all runs include warm up and cool down. So short run, warm up and cool down could be just 10 minutes of actual running because a warm-up is 10 minutes and a cool down is 10 minutes. I specifically do the 30-minute short runs because they're typically in the middle of the week. It's anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes, depending on how much time each person has. But that is for the person. So if you only have 30 minutes to do the actual workout, not including the stretching, you also need to remember and factor that in. It could be 30 minutes, and that's a-okay. Okay, and then we have 2 cross-training days. Again, that's 45 minutes for this person. So it could be 30 to 45 minutes for you. Long easy run is 5.25 miles. So you may notice as I'm going through these that these long run distances may not be following the 10% rule. So the last one was 4.5 miles. This one is 5.25. That's more than the 10% rule. 10% would have brought you to 4.95 miles. If you're having pain and problems, keep following the 10% rule or back off and run the distance that you have no pain. But for this particular person, we've been training since May. Her knee's not bothering her anymore. And these aren't new miles to her, so she doesn't have to follow the 10% rule because she's been running and she trained for Dopey. And then she trained for Princess, and now she's training for Springtime Surprise. So she's actually been decreasing her mileage over the past, I guess it's about 2 months now because Dopey was like January 8th, right? So now she's decreasing miles. So she can go above the 10%, and you could be the same as well if you've been training that much and you don't have the pain. If you have pain, definitely follow the 10% rule. And the 10% rule is adding no more than 10% mileage or time each week. Okay, if you have questions about that, send me a DM, runDisney DPT, and I can talk more about that. So let's get back to this. So the next week, again, 2 rest days, 2 short run days, 30 minutes, 2 cross training days, 45 minutes, long easy run, 6 miles, 2 strength days, stretch after every workout. Then the following week, we are 2 rest days, 2 short run 30 minutes, 2 cross training days 45 minutes, long easy run 30% slower than race pace at 7 miles, 2 strength days, and stretch after every workout. And then the next week is a taper week. So you could do 2 taper weeks. You could do 3 taper weeks. And you'll notice that, so technically taper starts at peak week. So that was that last week with the 7-mile long run. Long run during peak week should be 70% of the longest distance that you're racing. So a 10-miler, 70% of that is 7 miles. So that's why a 7-mile long run. That's the longest long run for this training cycle. And then this next week, we have 3 rest days, 1 short run. Cross training is 15 minutes, and the long easy run is 2 miles. Excuse me, we have 4 rest days. And strength train light 30 minutes if you want, otherwise skip it. Stretch after every workout. And then we are in race week. So we have 3 rest days, 1 short run of 30 minutes, 1 cross training at 15 minutes. Friday is the 5K, Saturday is the 10K, skipping strength, stretch after every workout and race. And then the following week starts with the 10-miler on Sunday, and then 3 rest days. The long run is a 2-mile walk, and then an optional 30-minute short run, easy peasy, and cross training 15 minutes. Skip strength, make sure you stretch after every workout. So I alluded to If you can't run all of those miles on your long run what you can and then make up for it with cross training. So this is exactly how I have my clients still train for a race when they can't run all of the miles. Okay. And so you run what you can run without pain, and then you do the equivalent of the remainder of it in cross training. So cross training could be walking, it could be riding a bike, it could be swimming, it could be rowing, it could be elliptical. Those are the main options. And so let's say you can only run 3 miles without pain, but you're supposed to do 7 miles. You run the 3 miles, and then after that, you finish up the remainder for the equivalent time that it would have taken you to run those other 4 miles. So let's say your long run is 15 minutes per mile. At 4 miles, that's 60 minutes of running that you're not doing. So, and bike is your cross training of choice. So you run 3 miles and then you go ride your bike for an hour. And you ride it at the intensity that would bring your heart rate up to what it would have been when you were running. And so that's how you make up for it. So if you can't run all of the miles, no problem, because you can still train cardiovascularly without running. You make up for it with the cross training. Okay, so that is how you go from Princess to Springtime Surprise, Princess Fairytale Challenge to Springtime Surprise Challenge in your training cycle. As always, thanks so much for listening. If you have a question, send me a DM. You can find me on Instagram, runDisneyDPT. I am the runDisney Doctor of Physical Therapy. Share this episode with another runDisney friend who would find it helpful. That's all for now.